Ethan wandered through the bustling market on Nova Prime Station, his eyes scanning every stall, every passerby. The station's main concourse was alive with color and noise, a chaotic blend of humans, aliens, and machines all moving in a careful, unspoken rhythm. Humans were a minority here. Most of the aliens ignored them, assuming they were weak, predictable, and not worth attention. But Ethan didn't care. He enjoyed observing. He noticed patterns, the way species moved, the way they reacted to each other. It was a skill he had learned out of necessity and pride. As he passed a stall selling shimmering fabrics that seemed to ripple with light, his gaze fell on a figure standing a few meters ahead. She was unlike any alien he had ever seen. Her skin was a soft, pearlescent hue, and her eyes were a deep violet that seemed almost alive, reflecting the chaos around her like a calm lake reflects the sky. She moved with a grace that contrasted sharply with the hurried movements of everyone else. She didn't push, she didn't jostle, and yet she commanded attention just by existing. Ethan found himself staring. He tried to look away, but something about her drew his focus. It wasn't just her appearance. It was the way she seemed aware of everything, almost as if she could see not only the market but the people within it, their intentions, their thoughts. Most humans would have been intimidated or awed, but Ethan was curious. Curiosity was one of humanity's best tools. He studied her movements, her expression, and the subtle way she observed the world. It was fascinating. "Why are you staring?" a voice said, clear and unhurried, yet cutting through the market's din like a knife. Ethan turned sharply and met her eyes. She was closer now, standing still while the crowd moved around her. There was no anger in her tone, only curiosity. Her head tilted slightly, a gesture so subtle it was almost human. Caught off guard, Ethan blinked, trying to form an answer. Most humans would have stammered, offered a compliment, or mumbled an excuse. Ethan, however, had learned long ago that honesty mixed with a touch of cleverness worked best. "I'm observing," he said simply. "Not staring at you. Observing how someone like you moves through a world that isn't built for you. I prefer truth. If you're as clever as you claim, perhaps you can handle a small challenge. Follow me." That was a mistake often, but sometimes being underestimated gave one an advantage. Ethan followed her. She led him down a narrow alley lined with shops that sold things most humans couldn't name, much less use. The walls shimmered faintly, alive with alien runes that pulsed as they moved. Ethan recognized some of them from his readings, though only as vague warnings. These symbols often marked places of observation or subtle traps. He made a mental note to be careful. Lyra, as she finally introduced herself, stopped at a small kiosk run by a squat, four-armed alien. "Notice anything unusual?" she asked. Ethan scanned the area. At first glance, it seemed normal. A standard market stall, a small pile of glowing orbs, a merchant haggling quietly. But he noticed something odd. One of the orbs wasn't aligned like the others. Its glow was slightly dimmer, and the merchant's eyes flicked toward it far more often than seemed necessary. "That orb," Ethan said quietly. "It's different. It's not part of the regular stock." The merchant's attention on it. He's nervous. Something's hidden inside. "Which are decoys. That is rare for humans." As they moved deeper into the alley, Lyra's demeanor changed. The playful curiosity gave way to something quieter, more serious. She began speaking in low tones about her species, their role in the galaxy, and the rarity of humans like him. She didn't know it, but Ethan felt a sense of both danger and opportunity. Humans were underestimated everywhere. That had been his advantage all his life. "You're different from what I expected," Lyra said finally. "Most humans react with fear or arrogance or stupidity. You—" She paused, searching for the right word. "Observe and act carefully." Then, without warning, she darted toward a small side door, vanishing before Ethan could respond. The door led into what appeared to be a storage room, but he could see faint lights flickering inside. He hesitated, then followed. Inside, the room was filled with alien devices, some humming quietly, others pulsating with light. Ethan didn't understand most of them, but his training helped him recognize patterns and functions. Lyra pointed toward a small console in the corner. "Activate it," she said, "without touching the wrong panels." He noticed the faint warmth under one panel, a subtle vibration under another. With careful movements, he activated the console without triggering alarms. A small door in the far wall slid open, revealing a hidden compartment filled with crystalline data cores. Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Well done. You see beyond the obvious. That is rare." Humans are underestimated, and yet, her voice trailed, thoughtful. "Some of you have potential beyond what we expected. Even I did not think this human would manage it so easily. Challenges would escalate. Observation alone wouldn't be enough. Ingenuity, courage, and human unpredictability were what would matter next. Lyra closed the compartment and stepped back. You have done well so far, but the real question, the question that matters most. She looked at him steadily, her eyes reflecting the faint violet light around them. Is whether humans are capable of more than we have ever imagined. The unspoken understanding between them was enough. The galaxy underestimated humans, and he would prove that their perceptions were wrong. As they left the room and returned to the bustling market, Ethan felt the weight of possibilities pressing against him. This wasn't just a simple encounter. This was the start of something bigger, a test that would reveal more about humans than any alien could anticipate. And for the first time, he realized the quiet power humans possessed, the ability to adapt, to think beyond expectation, and to thrive where others predicted failure. Lyra glanced at him one last time before they merged back into the crowd. Most humans would have failed. You did not, I will be watching. Here the walls were smooth and metallic, with strange alien markings that pulsed faintly, as if the station itself were alive. He tried to memorize everything, the slight hums, the patterns of lights, the way the air shifted in different corners. Observation had saved him more times than he could count, and he knew it would matter again. Lyra led him to a small plaza, open to the station's central dome. From above, alien merchants and humans moved like ants across the mosaic floor. The plaza itself seemed ordinary at first glance, but Ethan noticed the subtle cues, small flashes of movement and reflections, shadows that didn't match the source, tiny disruptions in the rhythm of passers-by. This is where the real test begins, Lyra said, her voice quiet but carrying clearly. Observation alone will not be enough. You must understand patterns, read intentions, and act with insight. His mind thrummed with possibilities, calculating the best way to proceed. Your first task, Lyra continued, is simple to some, impossible to others. Identify who here is genuine and who is not. But as he focused, he noticed subtle differences. 3 individuals moved with a strange coordination. Their glances matched, their steps seemed to avoid the same spaces repeatedly, and their attention always returned to a small object carried by a tall merchant. Those 3, Ethan said, pointing without moving his lips. They are not ordinary. Their movements are too synchronized. They're watching the object, but their coordination suggests they're not alone in thought or purpose. He knew this wasn't about ego, this was about survival. Next, Lyra said, you will interact without being obvious. A small deception is required. Ethan recognized the pattern. They were guarding something important, but their focus was on subtle manipulation rather than force. He reached for a small, harmless item on the merchant's counter and feigned interest. His movements were natural, but he kept his mind alert for signals, any twitch, hesitation, or flicker that might betray their true intentions. The figures shifted in response, but Ethan remained calm. He had trained for this, reading body language, noticing micro-movements, predicting reactions. With careful timing, he turned away, making it appear he had not noticed the object at all. Lyra watched from across the plaza, her eyes assessing every detail. Good, you understand subtlety. Humans rarely do. They are loud, direct, and impulsive. You adapt. Pay attention to intent, not action. It's a diversion, Ethan whispered. They're creating a pattern to distract attention from something else. The object isn't their main focus. A small compartment, partially hidden behind a structural beam, emitted a soft light. He understood immediately. That was what the group was protecting. Everything else was performance designed to mislead anyone watching. He signaled Lyra subtly. She nodded, a small gesture of approval. Ethan moved carefully, using the crowd for cover, and reached the compartment. With a soft click, he opened it, revealing a set of crystalline data cores similar to what they had seen in the storage room earlier. Lyra's eyes sparkled. You are remarkable. Humans are often dismissed, but you understand, you anticipate. That is rare. Not because of what's in them, but because of who wants them and why. Their coordination snapped, replaced by sharp, urgent movements. The crowd scattered instinctively, creating space for the confrontation. Lyra's voice was calm but commanding. Now comes the true test. React, improvise, survive. He didn't run blindly. He calculated paths, using the plaza's layout to his advantage. He moved behind pillars, ducked behind crates, and used reflections in the polished floor to monitor their positions without direct line of sight. Lyra followed, her eyes tracking every movement. She wasn't helping directly, but her presence gave Ethan confidence. She was evaluating him, not intervening. The group lunged at the data cores, but Ethan anticipated the pattern. He dropped a small distraction, an innocuous orb from a nearby stall that bounced unpredictably. The attackers reacted instantly, giving him a split-second advantage. He snatched the crystals and moved toward a side exit, weaving through the crowd. Lyra called out to him, but not in warning. She called to guide. Her directions were subtle, just enough to keep him oriented without exposing their location to the attackers. They emerged into a quieter corridor, the hum of the station now more pronounced without the plaza's chaos. Ethan paused to catch his breath, crystals secure. Lyra watched him, her expression unreadable. "You passed the first stage," she said finally. Observation, understanding, reaction, adaptation. Most humans fail at one, sometimes all four. You, she tilted her head, considering him, excel at all. Lyra led him deeper into the station, into corridors even more hidden and quiet. The hum of life was replaced by the subtle pulse of alien machinery. Ethan felt both excitement and caution. He had proven himself so far, but he knew the challenges would increase. "This next part," Lyra said, "requires more than observation. You must demonstrate understanding, intuition, insight, creativity. Humans are often clever, but rarely beyond their immediate perception. Show me the exception." They entered a room filled with strange devices, floating spheres, holographic projections, and panels that shifted shape and color unpredictably. Ethan's first instinct was to analyze the patterns, identify the sequence, and determine the correct interaction. Lyra's voice broke the silence. "Do not approach this as a human might. Use observation first, intuition second, and action last. Fail, and you will see why most humans are not trusted." He moved slowly, observing the connections between spheres, noting how color changes affected neighboring panels, how light pulses corresponded to motion. Finally, he acted. He touched a series of spheres in a sequence dictated not by instruction, but by his understanding of their patterns. A soft hum filled the room, the holographic projections coalesced into a map of the station, and the final panel glowed steadily. Lyra's eyes widened. "Impressive," she whispered. "You see not only the surface, but beneath it. That is what humans can do when underestimated. That is what you just did." For the first time, he felt not just acknowledged, but recognized. The galaxy often overlooked humans, dismissed them as weaker, less capable. Yet here he stood, outsmarting alien logic and demonstrating the subtle brilliance his species had always possessed. Lyra stepped closer. "You may have passed the first real stage," she said, "but the journey is far from over. You must understand more than patterns. You must understand choices, consequences, and what it means to act when the unexpected occurs. Humans are unpredictable, and perhaps that is your greatest strength." But the real test was yet to come, one that would measure not only skill, but the essence of what it meant to be human in a galaxy that rarely understood them. The corridors of Nova Prime Station were quiet now, almost eerily so, as Ethan followed Lyra deeper into its hidden passages. The hum of machinery, faint and steady, replaced the chaotic noise of the marketplace. He had learned to pay attention to small details, faint vibrations in the floor, shifts in air pressure, even the subtle glow of alien panels that pulsed in rhythm with the station. Every step mattered. Every observation could reveal a secret or a threat. Lyra moved ahead with graceful precision, her violet eyes scanning the surroundings with a careful intensity. She walked like someone who belonged to the station entirely, yet Ethan could see the faint traces of caution in her movements. He had learned quickly that appearances could be deceiving. What looked calm on the surface often hid danger or complexity beneath. Finally, she stopped before a large door, unlike any Ethan had seen. It was smooth, metallic, and covered in faint runes that shimmered softly. There was no handle, no visible lock. Yet Lyra pressed a sequence of touches along the runes, and the door slid open silently, revealing a chamber bathed in soft, violet light. Inside, the room was filled with devices that defied human understanding. Floating spheres rotated slowly, connected by beams of pulsing light. Panels shifted shape, projecting holographic symbols that Ethan could not comprehend fully. The air carried a faint hum, almost musical, as if the station itself were alive and breathing through the chamber. "This is where I usually evaluate those I find interesting," Lyra said softly, her gaze meeting Ethan's. "Few ever see this place. Fewer still leave it unchanged. You are one of the rare exceptions. Aliens often structured even the most mysterious devices according to rules. They followed patterns, motives, sequences. Ethan's human intuition, honed over years of observation, could recognize such logic even without formal knowledge. Lyra led him to the center of the chamber. A pedestal rose from the floor, holding a crystalline sphere that pulsed faintly with light. Ethan approached it cautiously. This sphere, Lyra explained, contains information about countless civilizations. Some are extinct, some are thriving, some are dangerous. Few beings are allowed to touch it, even indirectly. Most cannot comprehend it, but I believe you might. Most humans would have hesitated, but hesitation often led to stagnation. Ethan placed his hands near the sphere, feeling the faint vibrations, the almost imperceptible flow of energy. You are curious, Lyra observed. Not reckless, not arrogant. That is unusual for humans. Most fear what they cannot understand. You, her voice softened, you approach it as a challenge, a puzzle to solve. That is rare. She was not judging only his intellect. She was testing his understanding of life, his grasp of potential, and perhaps even his spirit. You may be more capable than I first assumed, she said finally. But capability alone is not enough. You must understand context, history, and consequences. Humans are often clever, but rarely do they grasp the scale of the galaxy or the roles we play within it. Lyra gestured toward a large holographic display that activated as she approached it. Images of star systems, alien civilizations, and complex symbols filled the chamber. One image caught Ethan's eye immediately. A map of Nova Prime Station and the surrounding sectors, showing points of interest, potential threats, and unknown regions marked with faint pulses of light. This is a record of civilizations that we monitor, Lyra explained. We assess potential allies, threats, and those that might be capable of influencing the balance of power. Humans are often overlooked, dismissed as weak, insignificant. That is a mistake. And in the center of it, as she indicated, was the human sector, small, almost invisible, yet connected to multiple paths, multiple possibilities. You see, Ethan, she said, her voice steady, the galaxy does not understand your species. Most consider humans weak, but strength is not always measured in size or power. It is measured in adaptability, ingenuity, courage, and the willingness to act when others hesitate. Humans possess these qualities in abundance. You are living proof. He studied the holographic map, recognizing the subtle patterns that Lyra had revealed to him. Now, Lyra continued, I will reveal a secret few of my kind know. I am not merely a guardian or observer. I am tasked with evaluating potential allies for situations of extreme importance. Threats may emerge anywhere at any time, and the beings I trust must be capable of seeing beyond what is visible, understanding beyond what is told. You understand me, Lyra said, because you see patterns, think ahead, and act when necessary. Most humans would panic, hesitate, or ignore the subtle details. You do not. That is why you are here. We survive where others fail. That is what humans are capable of, even if no one expects it. Your actions here may ripple far beyond what you perceive. Lyra gestured to one of the holographic panels, and an image of the marketplace appeared. Ethan recognized the plaza immediately, the very place where he had first encountered her, and observed the subtle signals of hidden threats. Lines connected the plaza to other points across the station, each marking potential danger, opportunity, or influence. Everything is connected, Lyra said. Small actions, small decisions, they all matter. Most beings fail to see the connections. Humans, however, have a unique way of observing cause and effect, often in ways that defy conventional logic. You have shown this already. But can you do it under pressure? The next phase of evaluation will require not only skill, but courage and decisiveness. Most of my kind fear unpredictability. You embrace it. That is why you are different. That is why you have the potential to change outcomes even when the odds seem impossible. The lights on the panels flickered briefly, indicating activity elsewhere in the station. Lyra's expression shifted, subtle but noticeable. Her attention was drawn outward toward something urgent. They are moving, she said quietly. The test you faced in the plaza was only the beginning. Forces you did not notice are active now. The patterns you observed were part of something larger. Your understanding, your ability to act, will be needed. Ethan, you have proven observation, intuition, and cleverness. Now you will prove insight, decision-making, and resilience. The galaxy rarely affords such opportunities. Humans like you rarely receive them at all. Perhaps I was right to take a chance on you. Perhaps humans are capable of more than I ever imagined. It was a responsibility, yes, but also an opportunity to show that human potential was far greater than anyone had expected. And for the first time, Ethan felt a profound certainty. The galaxy had no idea what humans were capable of, and he intended to show them. The hum of Nova Prime Station shifted suddenly, becoming louder, almost threatening. Ethan noticed the subtle vibrations under his feet and the flicker of lights along the corridor walls. Something had changed. Lyra's eyes, usually calm and measured, now flickered with tension. "They're moving faster than expected," she said quietly. "The sequence you observed in the plaza was only a diversion. The real threat is approaching." Humans thrived under pressure, adapting to situations others found overwhelming. He had learned to remain calm while assessing every variable. Observation had always been his advantage, and now it was critical. Lyra led him down a side corridor that opened onto a secondary control hub. The room was compact, filled with panels, holographic displays, and a few devices Ethan recognized from his earlier observations. This hub controlled part of the station's security and monitoring systems, but most of the technology was alien and far beyond human understanding. "You will need to use these systems," Lyra explained. "Not as intended, but creatively. Humans excel at unexpected solutions. That is your greatest strength. Your insight will guide both of us." Their movements were precise, practiced almost like a dance, but Ethan noticed the slight rigidity in their steps, a weakness he could exploit. "They're trained but predictable," he muttered. "Patterns are always present, even when masked." The attackers were moving in a sequence that would intersect with the station's main corridors. If they followed the plan as expected, they would encounter security turrets that would likely fail to stop them. But he noticed a flaw. The turrets were set to detect large, straightforward motion, not subtle, evasive maneuvers. "Follow my lead," he whispered. "We'll force them into the turret's line of fire without them realizing it." When the attackers reached a key corridor, Ethan triggered a panel remotely, sending a burst of energy that activated nearby defense turrets. The attackers were caught by surprise, their coordinated pattern broken, and they stumbled into the turret's line of fire. The devices immobilized them without harming life, just as Ethan had planned. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. "You're clever." Humans rarely apply observation with precision like this. Most panic or overreact. You do not. Moving swiftly, he activated doors that forced the attackers into dead ends, then manipulated security panels to create barriers that blocked their retreat. Lyra followed closely, her presence steadying him. She didn't interfere directly, but her calm observation complemented his actions. Together, they moved like a single unit, his human ingenuity, her alien precision. One attacker managed to bypass the traps and sprinted toward the hub where they stood. Ethan calculated quickly. The hallway was narrow, with exposed conduits along the walls. He triggered a sequence that caused a small section of the floor to vibrate, creating a temporary imbalance. The attacker stumbled, giving Ethan just enough time to intercept and disable the device they carried. "Impressive," Lyra whispered, almost in awe. "Most humans would have hesitated or miscalculated. You adapt under pressure." Every move he made was calculated, yet flexible, adjusting to changes faster than the attackers could respond. Finally, the last group of intruders reached a junction. Ethan realized this was the final push. If they broke through here, the attackers could access the station's central command and potentially seize control. He analyzed the situation quickly. Multiple paths converged, but one small maintenance shaft offered a unique advantage. "Follow me," he said to Lyra, signaling toward the shaft. They squeezed through the narrow space, unseen by the attackers who were preoccupied with the main corridors. Using small panels inside the shaft, Ethan redirected environmental controls to seal off access points, trapping the remaining intruders in a confined area. Lyra's eyes glimmered with respect. "You think beyond what is visible. You understand consequences and leverage them. Humans rarely do this on instinct." His body was tense from the rapid maneuvers, but his mind remained sharp. "We're not done yet. They may have reinforcements." Ethan quickly interfaced with a few panels, using patterns he had observed throughout the station to anticipate further attacks. Lyra guided him, her knowledge of alien systems complementing his human intuition. As they worked, the attackers attempted a final breach from an unexpected angle. Ethan noticed the subtle cues immediately. A shift in the air pressure, a faint vibration under the floor, a reflection in a distant panel. He acted without hesitation, activating the station's defense grid to create barriers and disorient the intruders. The attackers were forced into a retreat, unable to continue. The station's security systems, combined with Ethan's improvisation, had neutralized the threat without causing unnecessary harm. Lyra turned to him, her expression a mixture of admiration and relief. You see possibilities where others see obstacles. You think in ways most species cannot comprehend. Humans are underestimated because they are unpredictable, and you have proven why that can be powerful. That is human. Humans were often overlooked, dismissed as weak, and yet here they were, one human and one alien working together to protect a station that most had assumed was secure against any human interference. Ethan glanced at Lyra. You're not just testing me, are you? There's more coming. But you have proven that humans can rise to meet them. That is what matters. In a galaxy full of species far stronger or faster, humans had something unique. The ability to act unpredictably, to see patterns where others saw chaos, and to find solutions in situations others deemed impossible. Then we keep moving, he said, adjusting the crystals he carried from the earlier challenges. There's more to see, more to understand, and more to prepare for. And in the process, you may discover something even more important. Not just what humans can do, but what they are capable of when underestimated. And as he and Lyra moved toward the next challenge, Ethan knew one thing clearly. Humans were not just participants in the galaxy. They were a force waiting to be recognized. And sometimes, the galaxy's greatest advantage was underestimating them entirely. The station was quieter now, but the tension hung in the air like a thick fog. Ethan and Lyra moved carefully through the corridors, alert to the slightest hint of movement. The attacks earlier had been only a test, a prelude. Ethan could feel it. Something larger was coming, something that would challenge everything he had learned so far. Lyra glanced at him, her violet eyes calm but serious. The final phase begins, she said. This is not a test of observation alone. You will need strategy, intuition, and decisiveness. Humans rarely get this chance. But I think I see a way to use that to our advantage. Lyra would guide him through the alien systems that humans could not normally manipulate. Together, they would create a trap that no one would see coming. Lyra nodded. Clever. Humans are underestimated because they are adaptable and creative. Let's see if your insight proves true. Ethan had already anticipated their path, and with Lyra's guidance, he activated doors to redirect their movement. Lights flickered as energy barriers sprang into place. The attackers, confident and precise, suddenly found themselves funneled into narrow corridors with no escape. Ethan ducked behind a panel, observing their reactions. Most panicked slightly, unsure of the sudden change. Their coordination faltered, and for the first time, Ethan saw uncertainty in their movements. Humans thrived in unpredictability, and this was the moment where his species' greatest advantage shone. Now, he whispered to Lyra, activate the secondary systems. Holographic barriers shimmered to life, redirecting power flows and activating automated turrets designed to incapacitate rather than harm. The attackers found themselves trapped between systems they could not understand, their every move anticipated by Ethan's planning. Ethan took a deep breath. Keep them contained, but watch for anomalies. There's always one unexpected variable. Lyra's eyes glimmered. You anticipate beyond what most would consider possible. Humans are remarkable. Almost done, Ethan muttered, his mind racing through sequences and contingencies. We just need to lead them to the final containment area. Ethan had rigged the space with energy fields and barriers using his understanding of the alien systems, creating a maze that forced the attackers into predictable positions. Lyra's guidance ensured everything worked smoothly. As the attackers entered, Ethan triggered the final sequence. The chamber's barriers shifted and aligned, locking the intruders in isolated zones. Automated systems immobilized their devices, and the attackers were neutralized without harm. The room was filled with faint hums and glowing lights, a testament to the coordination of human insight and alien technology. Lyra stepped beside him, her expression one of admiration and quiet pride. You see patterns, anticipate outcomes, and act decisively. Humans rarely do all three simultaneously. You have proven why your species is underestimated at its peril. You've demonstrated something critical. Humans are capable of far more than anyone believed. That is the most important lesson of all. That's what makes humans strong. You've shown me that today. And when that combination was applied wisely, it could change outcomes in ways others could never anticipate. Do you understand now? Lyra asked, her voice calm but intense. Why I approached you in the market, why I tested you. And you wanted to see what happens when that assumption is challenged. Humans were not just participants in the galaxy, they were a force waiting to be recognized. Underestimated, yes, but dangerous in ways others could not predict. Lyra placed a hand on a console and activated a holographic map of the station and surrounding sectors. There will be other challenges, she said. Others will test you, or underestimate you, or try to control situations you can influence. But today, you've shown me that humans are capable of turning the unexpected to their advantage. More challenges will come, but now we know humans can meet them. He had passed her challenges, but more importantly, he had shown that human insight and adaptability could shape outcomes in ways others could not anticipate. As they left the central hub, the market and corridors returning to their normal rhythms, Ethan realized that humans had a unique place in the galaxy. They were underestimated, often dismissed, but capable of more than anyone imagined. It was not raw strength or advanced technology that defined them. It was curiosity, courage, adaptability, and ingenuity. Lyra walked beside him, her expression thoughtful. You have proven something rare today, Ethan. Not just that humans can survive, but that they can excel where others fail. That is the essence of potential. Then maybe the galaxy isn't ready for humans, but it will be. Humans had done what they always did. They observed, adapted, and prevailed. And the galaxy, whether it knew it yet or not, had just witnessed why underestimating them was a mistake. As they reached the station's observation deck, looking out at the expanse of stars, Ethan felt the weight of possibility pressing gently but insistently. Humans were small, fragile, and often overlooked. Yet their potential, their ingenuity, and their courage could change outcomes on a scale few could comprehend. Lyra placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. Remember this moment. Remember what you've shown. Humans are underestimated, yes, but that is your greatest strength. You've proven that today. And the galaxy will eventually notice. The galaxy was vast, filled with species far older and stronger than humans, yet it had not accounted for what they could achieve when underestimated. Ethan smiled faintly. Humans were capable of more than anyone imagined, and now he had shown it. Lyra's eyes met his one last time, calm and approving. Today, you've done more than survive or succeed. You've proven that humans can change the rules entirely. That is a remarkable thing. And for the first time, Ethan realized something profound. Humans were not just participants in the galaxy. They were a force underestimated and overlooked, yet capable of shaping outcomes in ways no one could predict. And that force had just begun to awaken.